All right, guys, welcome to Bite Me. This is season 2, episode 17 interview with Eric with an H. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to millennial and struggle, understandably. The Twin Towers, 2008 crash, a global pandemic, nothing ever really got better for us, and our mental health reflects that. Often when I speak on this, the general echo is that we feel like we're cogs in the machine in a race to nowhere. It can be a challenge to maintain emotional health, to say the very least. Luckily, TikTok grants a safe space to find humor in the dismal. So today I brought on another creator to discuss how to cope with depression and anxiety. Please welcome Eric with an H with us right here today on Bite Me. Eric, would you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. Thanks for having me. My name is Eric, spelled with an H at the end, hence the name Eric with an H.
Not Erich. We've been over
not
this.
Erich. No, not Erich. It is
no one's naming their baby Erich.
You'd be surprised. I am from North Carolina. I was born and raised in North Carolina, and I still live in North Carolina despite my best efforts. But we're still out here.
I hear it's nice there.
There are some absolutely lovely. I've never been to either Dakota. I cannot speak on the Dakotas.
Don't. You're not missing
as a
nothing.
No, I started doing TikTok last year in the throes of the pandemic, as have so many of us. And I largely talk about a lot of mental health and depression issues, and I like to make fun of them.
Oh, that's wonderful. What a wonderful thing. But it must be wonderful because you have like some 250,000 followers. So, I mean, that speaks to how other millennials are feeling. So you struggle with mental health and often describe such in a comical manner on your TikTok posts. What exactly is your ailment, or approximately is your ailment, and how do you temper that?
So I have what would be considered clinical depression or major depression, differing from normal depressive episodes or what we just categorize as larger depression. In that it is a constant sort of battle against it. I am on medication for my depression. I have to conduct a lot of different activities throughout my day-to-day life in order to battle against that. It started back in my early days of life, around the age of 10 or 11, back when my parents got divorced. Okay. It was a very real traumatic experience for my little 10-year-old mind at the time, because of how I
questioning your reality, maybe.
Oh, very much so. And the you don't really realize how much stock you put in the concept of the nuclear family until it really starts to shake apart, and then you realize, oh, is something wrong with us now? Are we now the others? We are now diseased. So that's when I first entered therapy for the first time. Got the real diagnosis around age 16, as my brain kept kind of being on a feedback loop. The ways that I sort of handle it, obviously I am on medication for it. That started just within the past, I'd say 5 years. But there is a lot of diet and exercise that goes into it. Not always, super healthy diet and super healthy foods, sure. But things to sort of keep my body working in harmony as much as possible, because I tend to, the way that my mind works is it will impact my physicality. So, but a lot of exercise as well to sort of find my own strength, and being able to see, a real tangible result of I am strong. I do have this strength, not just in my mind, but my body as well, to sort of handle that. And a lot of swimming when I'm able to. Nice. I grew up swimming competitively. My mother was my swim coach for most of that time. And there's something very relaxing about being under the water and just having silence for a moment. And it even helps quiet your brain a little bit. And knowing that.
Isn't that like they put you in a pod? That's like a new therapy.
Yeah, so the immersion tanks for like the sensory deprivation tanks.
I'm claustrophobic. I don't know if that's true.
but there is something very freeing when you are a competent swimmer, being in the water and knowing like I have some measure of control over what's happening right now, and it is very calming in the moment.
That's like some almost maybe like for dogs it'd be a thunder vest, the submerging of the water.
Yes,
like
and
a
the
weighted
compression.
blanket.
Yes.
Nice.
But I also feel that, one of the best ways to sort of handle the feelings of depression is to talk about them and to bring them out into the open. We can look at our parents' generations and those generations that have come before us, and there's always been a lot of stigma around mental health and therapy and properly dealing with those things. And when you try to acknowledge it and bring it out to the light, there's always been a lot of pushback, to my mind, with the older generations. So now being able to talk about it in a very public space like the internet and on TikTok makes it easier, makes it feel less like I'm, an outcast, or that I'm the only one dealing with it. A big issue with depression is the feelings of isolation and, feeling that nobody can understand what you're going through. But when you bring it out to this community of people, and to have so many people come back, not only say that they sympathize, but they actually are going through a similar thing themselves, is very rewarding. And we have been able to sort of form a community around that.
So speaking of other generations, and I think what you're describing is personal expression, do you feel as though the era that we millennials or Gen X as we're born into plays into that? Is capitalism a factor? Do you see that the way we're feeling, the sort of doomsday feeling, do you see that changing or transitioning at all in years to come, or are we just like this?
I could see it definitely transitioning. I think that we are in the midst of a technological revolution, and we have been for some times, but it's a very transformative period right now. The way that, the older generations, the life plan that they would set out for themselves was very much a recipe. It was, you go to school and you study hard to get into a good college, and then you take that college education and you'll get a really good job, and
Wife,
then you work
2.5 kids.
Exactly. And it was very much like here's what will work for you. Well, ever since the advent of the internet and the access that we all have, the globalization that's come around as a result of it, and how quickly things change nowadays. Look at how quickly new iPhones come out. New technology is always being developed. Things that are trending now, on social media platforms or anything like that, won't be trending in a week. There's everything, every aspect of life is moving so quickly. So when we are trying to figure out who we are, when we're trying to go through school and then find jobs, and we're trying to still fulfill the life plans that our parents sort of set for us, and saying, here's the formula that we use. This formula will work for you, millennials. And then in the middle of that, we have an entire technological revolution that has turned everything upside down. So when we left college, for those of us that went, or when we left school in general and started joining the workforce, now we're seeing you need to have not only an education, but you need to have a developed set of skills in all these different technologies or all these different softwares. You need to know how to maintain a social media presence, but also have several degrees, and you have to be really good in person, talking
and don't
face-to-face.
die, keep working, just work.
Yes.
Work.
So when you're talking about, is this a product of the time we grew up in? I think that a big part of that is when we were kids, we were given the recipe for success that everybody else had been given in years past, which was work hard here, get an education, work hard, and then that's it. Whereas now, this standard recipe isn't what works for everybody anymore. People are going into trade school much more often. it is very much not one size fits all. And there's a widespread acknowledgement of that. And so now you've got unlimited avenues on which you can find success. But for those of us who were given the formula, we didn't start out thinking that way. So we're constantly having to update our ways of thinking to this new way of thinking. We're having to unlearn that recipe, that formula we were told was successful. And that also means that we're having to change the definition of success in our own minds. Capitalism definitely plays into this, absolutely. Because part of that recipe was success is measured by how good a job you have, how much money you can make, how much you can provide into the system, what you're contributing to it, instead of things like, are you happy?
Yeah.
Have you experienced growth in your life?
Your value is directly attached to your worth in the capitalist mindset.
Oh, 100%. When I was, graduating from college in the semester before, people, you'd go to little functions and meet alumni or, other business people in the area. And they would say, one of the first questions is always going to be, if you're a student, well, what's your major? What do you do? But for those who just graduated, it was, well, what are you doing? How much are you making?
Yeah.
What's your job title? And whatever your job title was, whatever amount of money you made, that was your value, that was your worth. And so
not healthy.
Do I think that a change, it's not healthy. And do I think a change is going to come? Yes, but we're waiting for that old formulaic ideal
spiritual awakening
die out. Yes. Oh my gosh. And I think that I'm seeing it a lot with millennials, and I'm seeing it with Gen Z. Gen Z is coming up. They've been in this environment since day one.
Yeah.
And so they're a lot more conditioned to believe this formula isn't for me. I don't have to, put myself into this box for,
You're
for
not
success.
My real dad.
Yes, very much. You don't know me.
I don't have to listen to you. Yeah.
I think that they'll have an easier time sort of measuring success and growth differently than we do. We've also lived through a number of what would be considered almost global trauma.
Yeah.
We've lived through a lot of traumatic events. We've watched our world shift a number of times. For those of us that live in the United States, when the Twin Towers fell back in 2001, we shifted our entire mindset to one of fear. And with that fear came this idea of independence, of isolation, the isolationist sort of ideas of it's us against everybody else right now. We put up the guards, around the borders and said, we've been attacked at home. And so now everyone else is the enemy. And so if you speak out against any sort of pro-American ideal from 2001 until now, you were almost seen
the enemy.
You were seen as other.
Yeah.
It was very much, it's either us or them. And I think that as a result, there's a lot of questioning and a lot of doubt and just trying to, we live in a very globalized society now. We can see what's happening on the other side of the world in real time on our phones. And so we can't just buy the narrative that it's us or them and that we're always the good guys and they're always the bad guys.
It's polarized.
It's super polarized. There's so many shades of gray. And it's a lot to do with the fact that we can see what's happening. We can communicate and talk to people in real time that live on the other side of the planet, that live in these countries that we've been told are to be feared. So yeah, all of that contributing into
capitalism sucks. Capitalism bad. Spiritual awakening good. Got it?
Yes.
So when we talk about like individual development, like at what point did you start to find comedy in your afflictions? And do you ever consider like maybe making comedy a full-time gig? Or do you find that what you are doing, like taking that approach, has helped others?
So to speak to the comedy as a full-time gig, I'm I'm very much, I still struggle on a very regular basis with breaking out of that formula thinking.
You don't
Because
think you can go on
anytime,
the stage?
oh no, because that doesn't fit. That won't be successful. It doesn't fit in the formula. Like pursuing those
Maybe you have
dreams, that
imposter
happiness.
syndrome. Like you don't think you could do it, but you could do it,
Oh, if somebody said you absolutely have to do this, or you're not going to be able to feed your family this week,
Yeah.
yes, I think I could do it. Do I think, would I consider dropping my current career path in pursuit of something?
I mean, I think honestly, by the time you get to the point where you're like, I'll do it if it means my family will be alive, that it's already out.
Oh yeah, by that point, there's no other career path to worry about. It's fine. But do I think that I could pursue it full time? I don't, because every time I've considered something along those lines, there's a voice in the back of my head that says, "But how are you going to make money off that?"
Yeah.
Because I'm still putting that value on
internalized capitalism.
It's very much that. It is saying my only worth is the dollar amount that I can contribute to society, and if that dollar amount isn't high enough, then I am not valuable and I am not worthy. Am I still working on breaking out of that? Absolutely. Am I going to do it in time to actually be able to do anything with it? To be seen. But in terms of when I actually started kind of, using comedy as a coping mechanism, probably goes back to, I can actually remember very specifically in about 5th grade. This was post-divorce, still trying to figure out just how to be a person. And I was such a people pleaser in my family. I'm the middle child. I'm always trying to
wow.
Hey, everything's fine, guys. Like,
that's a lot of people pleasing.
It's like so much people pleasing. Oh my gosh. It's so much. A middle child of divorce. God almighty. But there was a lot of animosity between my parents after the divorce. So communication between them was always difficult. Communicating to one parent that I was having issues with the other, or that there was something or that I wanted to go see the other parents, that I'm always trying to make everybody happy. It's a lot of plates to kind of keep spinning. Yeah. So when I would get to school, it was, I was thrilled to have anybody acknowledge me that wasn't already mad about something else. And so I would tell jokes and make people laugh, and I would do silly things. I would class clown it up and, fall out of my chair and all this other stuff, because it was a pressure-free sort of reward. It was like, everyone's just happy now.
Maybe.
I could probably, an argument could be made for that. Absolutely.
I am not middle child Eric right now. I am this person. I am this person right now.
Everyone's happy over here. We're fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. I'm fine.
It's fine. So the fact that now people look at that and get some sort of comfort from it, or feel that they can relate to it, or that it brings them joy is one of the most rewarding things about my entire social media experience, is that not only do people feel sort of these darker thoughts or these things that they don't want to talk about, but that they can acknowledge it while they're having a good time. They can say, I feel that way too, and darn it, that's funny.
They resonate with it. They resonate with you.
Yeah, and so it is a very rewarding thing.
Maybe it's a very cathartic thing as well. Like, it helps you heal also.
Oh, absolutely. And
I see you, you see me. Yeah.
It's a very real sense of community. And I think that I always just hope everyone else is getting as much out of it as I am. Otherwise I'll feel so incredibly guilty.
So I am too. I'm like, I'm here. This is what you got today. Hope you like it. Not, I guess it's only 60 seconds of your time on this burning planet. With that, we're going to take a quick break on Bite Me. All right, guys, we are back with Bite Me. This is season 2, episode 17, interview with Eric with an H. We left off on you finding comedy in your reflections with your mental illness. Like, it sounds so ugly coming out of my life, but that's out of my mouth. But that's what it is. We all have mental illness. It's no secret that depression and anxiety are epidemics in our generation. While there is currently no cure, and maybe there will never be for these maladies, what advice would you give to others on how to manage?
Well, anytime I give advice, I always like to preface it by saying that this is what works for me, and that
I am not a doctor.
I am not a doctor. Please don't ask me.
I only play one on TV.
That's right. But I think it is, these are things that I find helpful. I think that everybody should be probably talking to somebody. It doesn't have to be, necessarily a licensed therapist or psychologist, but talking to somebody to figure out what you need is very important. And
are you saying, Eric, are you insinuating that perhaps we should normalize therapy in men?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh wow.
Listen, if there's one demographic that needs some therapy, it's us men.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes, and I can think of many men in my life who would have really used some therapy.
I bet.
So, but all that being said, everyone's mental illnesses and mental health issues are going to be as diverse as people are themselves. But I do believe there are some things that everybody can be doing to sort of deal with things like depression and anxiety. I just said, talk to somebody to figure out what you need. Talking to somebody is the first best thing you can do. As I mentioned earlier, I think that there is a history of stigmatizing mental health issues and saying this is something to be ashamed of, this is something to be afraid of, this is something that you hide in the closet and you don't speak of again. When you talk about it, when you bring it out into the open, it does take the power away from it. It puts more of a name and a face on it. It shines a light on it. Things are a lot scarier when they're left in the shadows. When you bring it out into the open and can acknowledge what it is, then you can start to work on dealing with it. And so
I think that's so beautiful. Like there's something so powerful in just saying, here's my shit. Take a look.
Yes, I 100% agree. And I mean, I made a TikTok series a while ago that was, I would characterize my depression as it was just me with a gray blanket on me with some like Wayfarer sunglasses over it. And it was like, here's my depression in the role of a bad roommate. It makes it a lot less scary when you can characterize and say, this is what it's like. It's like a bad roommate that just messes with your shit.
Well, I mean, it's also nice for people who maybe couldn't verbally express that, like, oh, that is, truly how that feeling is. I feel like it's a bad roommate,
Mm-hmm. Well, and when you talk about it, it's not only relieving to you, but especially if you talk about it like I have on a platform, it makes it easier for other people to talk about their shit. Like more people, if you are able to open up and share with somebody, even if that person is a therapist or, some sort of trained professional, by you expressing your feelings and sort of sharing that, it gives them permission to then open up as well. So it's very much a two-way street. Well, it feels like this person has already sort of broken the stigma. We've gotten away from that now. So now we can just talk about it like the normal part of life that it is, instead of acting like it's something to hide. So I always think that talking about it and acknowledging it as a part of your life is always going to be the first healthy step. And with that, I cannot emphasize enough how much just activity helps me in my life. For me, it's typically a lot of exercise, but it can also just be getting up, moving around, doing some chores around the house. It could be going for a walk. It could be just stepping outside and just being a part of the outside world.
Self-care.
Getting up and moving when you are clinically depressed or just depressed in general can feel like an insurmountable task. It's because all you want to do is just lay down, because though it feels like the weight of the world is physically pressing on you.
Yeah,
and
like a mountain.
It is why why would I take one step out of bed? Because nothing that I do in the next moment is going to make me feel better. And that thought can stick in your head, and we all become excellent lawyers when we are trying to convince ourselves of something. We all decide, you know what? I do need to lay here, because when I lay here, I am guaranteed to not feel any worse than I already feel. You know, if I get up,
lawyers are really good liars.
Yeah, and that's the part we need to remember, is that we love to lie to ourselves, and getting up and moving and actually creating a physical change in your environment and within your body can actually stimulate change within your brain. So when I get up and I move around and I actually get blood flowing, maybe dopamine. Get some endorphins going. Yeah. Get the endorphins going, get the dopamine in your brain. Changing your
dopamine,
physical.
But there's people at home who are going, oh, so I can just snort some oxy? No.
I would like it known that I'm not endorsing the snorting of oxy.
Yeah, no druggies.
Do not take me out of
context.
There
are people who will take it. They're like, well, no. Eric is saying
internet man said so.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't have to be rigorous exercise, just some sort of movement, changing your scenery a little bit. Don't just stare at the same four walls that you're staring at, for hours on end. Getting up and moving is a very helpful thing. And if you have somebody in your life, if you're lucky enough to have somebody in your life that you love or trust, if you got a great roommate or a spouse or a significant other, a parent, a family member, whoever, who can help you get up and move when you don't want to, that can be helpful when you need that encouragement. And again, as a dog owner, I cannot tell you how helpful it is to have a little creature that's like, no, you need to take me outside now.
Yeah, it's true.
We gonna have a pee. Like,
I think it's time. I can tell you need to go outside.
You're either gonna be going outside with your dog, or you'll be cleaning up pee off the floor. Either way, you're moving around.
That's a heavy motivator. I don't want to clean up pee off the floor.
Are you sure? It's a wonderful time.
Last and kind of unrelated question. You and I touched on this a little bit in our personal grievances a bit ago. Let's say it's Saturday night, and in true antisocial depressive form, we already know that you're at home under a blanket with your Wayfarer glasses and a remote in your hand. What is your go-to snack, drink, and show? Like, what are you Netflixing?
So the snack right now, I love all things sandwich. I love a sandwich more than anything in this world.
Okay. Not unlike a white man to love a sandwich, but that's okay. Eric does have a cocoa in his hand, I'll have you know. It looks delicious.
It's true. It is delicious. A comical amount of whipped cream on top. But a grilled cheese done properly, a grilled cheese sandwich is always a fantastic snack.
Standard, no apples on it or anything crazy.
If I'm feeling crazy and we've got like a little bit of fig jam, just do like a little smear of fig jam on there. Oh, nice. One of the best ones I've ever had is you do a little bit of fresh pesto and fresh tomato on there. Get a lot of butter in the pan, both sides.
That's gourmet. You can make a food truck out of that.
Listen, if I could make a food truck out of grilled cheese sandwiches, that's the dream. They used to have them in Asheville, North Carolina. Oh, so good. But a grilled cheese in any form is a wonderful go-to snack. Go-to drink, I'm probably reaching for a chai tea.
Wow.
I love tea.
You're a little bit bougie.
I am absolutely a little bit. I am undercover bougie. I look a mess, but I'm a little bougie. No, but like chai tea, a little bit of oat milk, because I'm already maxed out on dairy from all that grilled cheese. And for show, there's a show that I watch on HBO. It only lasted about 2.5 seasons, but I love it so much. It was The Newsroom, and it was the first season is really all you need to watch of that. Second season's okay. Third season, total letdown. But
what's the premise? I'm not familiar, unfortunately.
The premise, it's basically there's a very famous. You may have actually seen the very opening scene. It's a rant about why America is no longer the greatest country in the world.
I have seen this with the Dumb and Dumber guy.
Yes, whose name
Jeff,
I can't remember.
Is it Jeff? It's not Jeff Goldblum, I don't think. That's Jurassic Park guy, isn't it?
No, and Jeff Bridges is a different guy as well.
Yeah. Boy, I don't know.
But it is. That's the opening
I can see
scene.
how that would be an appealing show.
It's about a news anchor who's like very non-problematic and just popular, and how his ex comes back into his life as his executive producer, and they turn around and start doing a unbiased newscast that focuses on the facts, that leaves behind, all of the partisanship and the playing to advertisers and everything, and really focuses on issues. And you actually get to go back and learn. It starts off in 2010, so you actually get to see a lot of different worldwide events that they actually will cover through the show. It was created by Aaron Sorkin, who was one of the creators of The West Wing, for all the West Wing fans out there. But I love a good political show. On a more whimsical show, I'll go for Lock and Key on Netflix. Magic keys in a magic house. Come on, who doesn't love it?
So it's got to be political or completely fiction. Like
I am in one of the two extremes and nowhere in the middle.
Yeah, we are Harry Potter or what's that one that was like the First Lady or something, or The Good Wife? That's not it. Was it The Good Wife and there was a female president? What am I thinking of?
House of Cards, maybe? I don't know.
I think maybe that, but I'm over here watching like The Real Housewives of New Jersey. Because you know what the problem is? The problem is, like, by the time I get done ranting about political stuff on TikTok and wherever else, I need my brain to be dead. I need it to be dead.
You're maxed out.
I'm maxed out. And so in order for it to be dead, I need to watch two very rich women argue about some dumb shit that don't amount to a hill of fucking beans. And then I can feel better about my life. Because I'm like, no matter how fucked up I am, I'm never going to be that fucked up. You know?
See, I just do the flip. I just, I just scream in my car about how my pants are too tight. And then I go home and I watch political commentary. It's great.
I can see how that would be helpful as well. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank Eric with an H for being here with us tonight. Do you have anything that you would like to plug, or anything you'd like the audience to know? Any charities or platforms or advertisements?
No.
Okay.
No, you can follow me. I mean, you can, if they want to follow me on TikTok, it's ERICH with an H, is the whole thing. Just cool. That entire phrase. But that's about it. Nothing going on.
One time I had a lady say, "Don't be a dick." That was all she wanted to plug. So
that's pretty great. I can get on that campaign. I'd like to change my answer to "Don't be a dick."
Nice. All right, guys. I'm your host, Brooke. Be sure to check out the Truth for Groomer website, Insta, and Twitter, and we'll see you next time on Bite Me.